We have quite a mystic message for this week, so let's just get into it for the week beginning November 5th, 2018.
I believe in those things we don't know much of. There's just so much to see that ain't about love. I'm ready to face my fears. I'm ready to taste the weird. I just wanna walk the hills above. My ordinary life, I could let it burn. 'Cause I just wanna go to the deep end. I just wanna go to the deepest end. No planning, no stress, and no work, no trying to fix what we are. Just go to the deepest end. I never got to let loose, hanging out with you. You tossed and you turned our love into a stiff statue. My brain was having enough, like my thoughts just stopped. Now all I think of is leaving this bad old spot. I'm ready to face my fears. I'm ready to taste the weird.
Hello everyone, it's Michelle Patterson here with Angel Souls. And before we get started on this week's message, if you would like to get a personal reading with me, go to my website at angelsouls444.com, the services tab. Just know that you're going to get a lot out of your personal reading. What we do with angelic messaging, we don't know what's going to come up, but we don't just look at your surface level life. If you have a question about something that's going on and you get a personal reading, we're not just going to look at the surface. We're going to look at where you are on your soul's contract. We're going to look at what your energy is. We're going to see how that's affecting your frequency and maybe affecting the outcome. So it really can be about where am I on my soul's path? What direction do I need to head? Okay. So just know that when you're going into that. Of course, we have Gumroad. I have so many things coming out on Gumroad. I have filmed all the December, January, and year overview videos. I just need to edit them and hope my computer doesn't blow up. Goals for 2019 is to upgrade my computer. Oh, I don't even know what it would be like to be able to have like a really fast machine. That would be so amazing. So, it might be slow going and getting those up. But of course, I will send out a newsletter letting you know when all of that is available. In the meantime, of course, we have the November videos up and a ton of other courses, meditations. So head on over there, check it out. If you would like to support me on Patreon, I leave all that information down below. The last thing I want to announce here is that I intend to try a super chat on YouTube. I've never done that, so it might get messed up. You know how things go. But I am trying to plan that out. Of course, I will be sending out a notification. You'll see probably like a premiere video pop up. And basically what a super chat is we get to interact live and we can just hang out. If it works, I know this time of year I'm going to be doing a lot of traveling. And I can always work on the road, but I don't know if we'll be able to do a super chat while I'm traveling, but we'll test it out and you guys let me know how it goes. I also want to send out a quick thank you to Kate Sparkle for sending me this ring. This video isn't sponsored, but I did want to say thank you. It is a very, very pretty piece. All right. Having said all that, let's get into it here. Let's see if we can make sense of this. I am going to tune in here, and as I read it to you, as always, I'm going to let them help me interpret it. Okay. So the first word they say for this week is broadening. Okay. Earthquakes. So that was weird. It was like broadening. I'm like, perspective, consciousness, awesome. And then it was earthquakes. Be prepared, as this could trigger tsunamis and volcanic eruptions. Australia. And then it said, was it tilting? Yeah, I heard the word tilting. I don't know what that means. But there was Australia-tilting. It does make me wonder if there aren't landslides or I don't know. I wish I was waiting to see if more came through with that. Now, everything that we say here is not to put fear within you. This is really to wake us up, as they will start to talk about a little bit more here. And then they say, oh yeah, I forgot about this. They said sinking. So tilting, sinking. So sinkholes. The geography is changing quite a lot. So we need to be not only physically prepared, but we need to be mentally and emotionally prepared. All right. So strengthen yourself through meditation, strengthen your response to things. If you don't feel right about something, don't go there. I said this, I think in the summer, if you feel like, okay, it's not safe to go to the beach today, if you're in a place where there's a warm beach, don't go. Okay. So really, really listen to your instincts. All right. Storms continue at sea and in the human heart. Here we go. We wait for your continued awakening when you see there is nothing to fear. And when we tell you this, we do so to remind you that all is different outside of your consciousness. Your own soul, and when they say consciousness, I think they're meaning like how we see things here, like our human consciousness, okay? Your own soul is a greater part of the vastness that you perceive yourself to be. So I know that's a very confusing way of putting it. I've gotten that message before in personal readings for people, but that's where they're basically saying you're just a sliver, you're just a part of your soul in this human body. Your soul is a part of the great beyond and bigger than you can imagine. So there's an intelligence. So I think what we as humans are always trying to do, we're trying to figure out almost the mind of God. We're trying to figure out the universe. And how many people come forward and say, I have learned the trick of life and I'm enlightened and I'm doing this, that, and the other. And really what's happening is the bigger part of yourself already knows all that stuff. It's already, one with God consciousness. And it's just us as humans, we're like, that's that part of me. I remember it somewhere. It's familiar, and yet I have like human amnesia, right? Where I'm trying to reach for that, right? So we're all trying and struggling, I think, to kind of be integrated with that bigger part of ourselves to kind of come on home. And the message, part of the message I think here is that you don't need to feel lonely. And they're acknowledging that it can be very, very scary to be in a human existence on the earth plane. But they don't want us to sort of preemptively give up on ourselves, on this world. And people are giving up. Those are the people that you see who are just living a mundane life. And their life is drudgery. And they just don't care anymore. Why do we see people taking their anger out on the most vulnerable? Why are we seeing people hurting children? This is that thing where people just forget and they give up. And it's almost as if nothing matters anyway. I may as well act any way I want. So don't forget your soul. Don't forget that you're just having this experience for right now. As we all know, life is short. It is temporary. So yeah, they're saying that will help you understand that the part of you that you keep striving for is already doing its job, right? So it's not something that you have to push on. It's not something that you have to play catch up on. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that feeling of missing something, you don't have to go running after it. It's already in place. It's already doing what it's got to do. What your job is just to be human, right? For this part of your soul. All right. What the heck did I write? See, it comes out in like scribbles. Sorry. It's B-E. I swear it looked like the, whatever. Be on the lookout for behaviors, your own and others, for this will tell you all when you discover the deeper reason in that behavior. We will end here. Contemplate this at this time with all love, angels of God's love and light. So what they're saying about, how often do we hear, oh, let it go, let it go? And there's a layer of truth to that where, yeah, you shouldn't, fight every fight or get yourself wound up over every little thing. But this whole thing of let it go, it starts to become a blanket statement. And now people are just like, oh, pay no attention to that person who is harming someone else, right? Or, pay no attention to someone that's just who they are. And maybe it's somebody who is kind of being abusive to others. Oh, well, whatever. And there are going to be people out there going, I've never seen someone being abusive and not stepped in. I bet you have. I bet you have stood back and away from certain situations. What about verbal abuse? What about mental abuse? I bet you have, because most people don't even recognize it. Or when we, if you're somebody who tends to be a reflector and you reflect back to people, not to control them, not to judge them, not to tell them they need to be different. But hey, is that the nicest way for someone to be talking to you? Is that how you really want to be treated? And they go, oh, what are you talking about? That's not abuse. That's not, you know what I'm saying? So when they're saying pay attention to people's behaviors, it's not to go, oh, shame on you. oh, you should be different. No, that's not what we're doing here. It's looking at it and going, whoa, where does that come from? And then we educate ourselves. We get to the bottom of what makes someone like that. What makes somebody so angry? What makes someone abusive? What pain are they going through? Now, that never excuses the horrible behavior. But if we can start to get to that place of not being complacent and starting to look at things, we can start working through it. There could be a huge awakening around our own health and how, like, truly how we need to be cared for as souls in these bodies on every single level. So I think that message is also talking about, you know, maybe some deeper discoveries. I think I mentioned this in another video. I am subscribed to Nature Journal and Science Magazine, and I go through them every single week. Well, I try to at least, but I go through them because I'm waiting for that information to come forward. I'm waiting for people to start really, you know, maybe acknowledging the mental body a little bit more. Also there, as I mentioned, I think again in another video last week, there's this connection. They're connecting the dots between things that have always had a scientific explanation and what people who have had spiritual practices have been doing for a while. We've seen the discoveries around yoga. We've seen those discoveries around meditation and how it can change your brain. We know that, okay? So there's going to be more of that kind of stuff coming up. But for now, let's get on to the cards. I want to set the scene for you a little bit. I'm not going to mess up my camera shot by turning the camera. We got snow here last night in Colorado Springs, and it is just so gorgeous. It literally looks like a winter wonderland everywhere. It's the perfect kind of thing where it's pretty, but the ground was too, I mean, it's on the grass, but the roads in some areas were bad, but around me, it didn't stick. So that's nice. We can still get around, but it's just so, so beautiful. All right, so let's see what we have going on here. Oh, I felt that one coming. I was just getting ready to be like, you know what? I think that's about the right spot. All right. So the first card we have up here is Moonstone Cycles. This goes right into what we were talking about. First of all, this talks about emotional body, which is interesting because we were mentioning the mental body. This is about the emotional body and how we feel about being human. I know that seems like a really big kind of what statement, but how do we feel about being human? Obviously, we're not handling it very well. Obviously, we have certain expectations. Obviously, these brains, which are, you know, pretty limited in our, because we have an ego consciousness. So every time we start to grow and we try something new or whatever, fear will creep in, the ego will creep in. It'll start telling you can't do it, or that person is your enemy, you should hate them. Or we have these programs that we get, you know, we could have our parents' trauma passed on to us and their belief systems, and now we think that we have to hate everybody or hate anybody who's not like us. You know, there are people out there who are raised like that. So what they're saying is recognize your own personal level cycles and how do you respond to that emotionally? And is that where you want to be? Do you want to walk around being angry at everybody? Do you want to assume the worst about everyone? You know, I know we get scared. I'm a big one on this. I used to get scared and I get very defensive. And for me, way back in the day, it was sarcasm. And I would push people away because I came from, you know, a rough time. And I assumed that, you know, all people were bad and all people were, you know, going to hurt me. And so I would, you know, have my biting words at people to keep them back. So what this is talking about is if you have a personal cycle like that, you always have the chance to grow. You always have the chance to come on out of that. Moonstone also talks about they're coming into that heart space and they're really saying, you know, yes, it's the mental body, but we have to take care of the emotional body as well. And this includes not playing the victim. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard people say, my life stinks because of that person, right? If they hadn't done X, Y, and Z, and really from a deeper spiritual perspective, we know that the people who come in and poke us the most are probably soulmates, honestly, and they're here teaching us the most. I just had a recent example where it was kind of a very, very shocking thing that happened. I was expecting somebody to help me, medical, in the medical field. I was expecting some help. And because of the way my life is right now, I couldn't get medical care. And I was just livid. And I wanted to go, you people, how in the world are you even operating like this? Like, this is not okay, so on and so on and so on. And then I stopped and I started thinking, what good have I gotten out of this? Well, it wasn't a health scare, it was a health inconvenience, right? But for years and years, I have struggled with my weight and trying to get myself healthy. And this really spurred me to get serious about that. And also being over 40, I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't want to get crunchy. Okay. So maybe I should get in here and start moving and grooving and, try to do something about this. But it really was this health thing that came up that I was like, oh man, I really got to do this now. So, so even though these people were giving me a lot of pushback and it was a nightmare trying to schedule something with this facility, I had a really kind of snippy, weird phone call yesterday. It was like really weird. And I was like, wait. Okay, I got to look past the story here. What's really going on here? I don't maybe need that procedure. Or maybe if I was going to go through that procedure, I would have been very disappointed by the results. So on and so on and so on. So the reason why I'm telling you this is not to just bore you. Sorry about it. It's to think about that. When you have moments going on in your life where it's like, why in the world is this happening? Take a step back and go, but really what kind of changed because of that? Even if you have a horrible situation, God forbid if you came out of an abusive relationship, those, it's not like the universe sets you up to be abused. We allow ourselves to have those people in our lives. And I've been in abusive relationships too, and I will own it and say, I invited that person into my world because I wasn't seeing my own self-worth. And I wasn't being aware of my own patterns, right? So remember what they said in the AutoWrite, we're supposed to be looking at, how did they put it? Where was it? Hold on one second. Yeah, sorry, I wanted to grab this again to be very specific. Be on the lookout for behaviors, your own and others, for this will tell you all when you discover the deeper reason in that behavior. So this also talks about us being released from an emotional cycle, right? So don't cower away from things that are starting to come up. And as I was saying before, we don't want to fall into a victim mentality. We don't want to go into that energy, all right? You always have the power to love yourself and to start to come out of it. It might take a while, okay? And always be patient with yourself, but we have the power within us. I know that's cliche, but I mean, how else am I going to put it, right? Okay, so let's get some more cards. There's another one coming out. Petrified wood ancestors. Was this last week? Or was it the ancestors with the iPhone? Yeah, well, whatever. Okay, so ancestors, again, what cycles have you picked up from your ancestors? What has been passed down through your lineage? We were just talking about that. Are we taught to not like someone? Are we taught that, people in our family never are abundant? Or, if you were to get successful, you would be moving away from us because that's not who we are. I remember when I moved away from home, I was really the first person in my family, besides extended relatives and stuff, but first person in my family to move away. And there was a whole lot of wanting to not let me do that and go off and grow. So you can break those cycles. You can break, especially patterns of abuse patterns keep coming up. All right. So for some of you, of course, as always, if you need a little extra support for your mental body, by all means, reach out to a therapist or a psychologist or something like that. But take it very, very seriously. But this is asking you to have a lot of awareness around what you have historically been taught. How have you been taught to be? Who have you been taught to be? You're not supposed to be that anymore. All right. So here we go. Libyan gold tech type. Did I say that right? Yeah, I did. Okay. Manifestation. And what this is going to do, we're in the process of creating a new cycle for ourselves. And you are in charge of manifesting the next chapter of your life. Yes. So that's a big one. This is one where, have you ever sat there and gone, I don't know what I want. I don't know how I want my life to be. That's what this talks about. So if you need some clarity before you start manifesting, you can always work with Archangel Michael. He can help you understand. And just remember, you may not get the clear answer right away, or you may only get a piece of the answer at a time because that's what you can receive in that moment, but you are in charge, is what that's saying. Oh, and here's another kind of manifestation card. It's Fairy Stone Fertility. So this is all the sacral chakra. And this is saying you have a very, very fertile life. You can make the most of this existence, but don't try to go too far. Like, it's just not necessary right now. So you don't have to be the next great American novelist. It's okay for you to be a father and a son and a brother, a wife, mother, what have you. That's good enough. That's a part of being human, and you're already successful, right? You're already beautiful and precious just as you are. But this fertility card talks about, some of you out there are going to be like, does that mean I can have a baby? If it's within your path to have one. And remember, the fertility thing, let's just touch on this really quick. That's tricky because not only does your energy have to be kind of in the right place, to bring a child forward, but your partner, if you, well, obviously you'd have to have a partner to make a baby, I suppose, but if the partner's still in the picture, their energy counts as well as the little soul that's about to come in. Okay, so it's kind of like this whole thing that has to work out. So, if you're not getting pregnant right now and you want to really start looking at, not looking at fertility issues, looking at fertility solutions, and also looking at your energy, your partner's energy, and even going into meditation and communicate with the little soul that you want to bring in. And you can even ask that little soul, what's the holdup? Why don't you want to come in? And you might hear, mommy, daddy, you don't get along. I'm not coming into that. Mommy, daddy, you're not really ready. You wouldn't be able to give me what I'm signing on for my soul's contract because you haven't grown enough. Okay, so just be aware of that. And then, of course, for everybody else who, if you're not trying to have a baby, this is maybe a creative project, but definitely in a bigger sense, this is us getting really creative about what we want for our existence while we're here as we begin a new chapter, a new cycle. All right, so let's see what else we have here. The color card is... It is, lemon. Access innovative thinking. The number is 23. Reduces to 5. 5 is the number of change. So in order for you to have this new cycle, and this is also the color of the solar plexus, so this is self-esteem, how you show up in the world, how you let people perceive you. Do you know what I'm saying? Your light that shines out. So this yellow is saying, hey, you have a lot of potential here. And you can, sorry, how my face gets itchy when I do these readings. It's like tingly. It's really weird. Anyway, back to the card. This is saying you have a lot of ideas within you. There's so much more to come in your life. There's a whole new way of being if you want that to happen. So don't resist the change, I think is what we're saying here. All right. But let me see if there's anything else, because I feel like there's a lot of chatter around this card. And they're saying, okay, thank you. They're saying that this is a part of the clarity that you would need in order to manifest. I notice they are similar colors, right? So you have to be tuned into your self-esteem. So what this is also talking about is as you're creating the next chapter of your life, try to catch yourself if you're doing self-sabotaging behaviors. If you're wanting to quit, especially when you're getting right to the finish line, all of a sudden you want to give up. Or if you're saying, oh, I couldn't do that, I'm not good enough, I'm not blah, 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 blah. Tune back in, get that clarity, work on that solar plexus, and ask yourself, what would bring me joy? If you still don't know the answer to that, you can always have a discussion with God, source, creator, the universe, whatever you call it, and say, hey, show me what would make me happy. Show me how I can express divine energy in this world and be of service. And I guarantee you something will come up for you, some way that you can be of service. Because I don't think the universe is ever going to turn that offer down. As soon as you open and say, hey, I'll help out in the way that I can, projects, sort of soul projects will come to you. Okay? So we're going to leave it there. Thank you guys for watching and take care.
I just wanna go, go, go to the deep end. I just wanna go, go, forget what you've done. The way you act won't take me back. Just go, 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 go.